Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the latest warnings from the national grid that we face credible prospects of blackouts this winter, something the government are sort of trying to deny, and how Liz Truss is blocking a plan to try and avert them. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So I think Liz Truss is making another serious political error here. In fact, I think she's making two. The first was arguably made this summer. She denied that there was any prospect of blackouts this winter. Now, she didn't have to say that. She could have said she would do what she could to make sure people had access to enough energy. That way, she could have blamed the previous government for creating the mess. It wouldn't have been straightforward. She was part of that government. She was also a cabinet minister in the government when our gas reserves were sold off about 5 years ago. But she wouldn't have been prime minister or chancellor or energy minister in the immediate run up to it. So she could have slung a bit of blame around elsewhere. By claiming that the country was protected from the risk of blackouts in summer, all she does is make it her fault when it happens this winter. But the second mistake is being made right now. Jacob Rees-Mogg, of all people, approved of a plan to run a public information campaign to persuade people to change some behaviours in order to reduce the risk of blackouts. It could include letting people know, I suppose, well, the best thing I think would be to let people know what times of day are best for, say, running washing machines and so on. You know, turning down the thermostat by a degree, the usual things. Just managing the load around the day in order to avoid blackouts. Well, the latest news is that Liz Truss has blocked this plan for ideological reasons. I don't even know what that means in this context. She thinks it's wrong to advise people on how to change their energy use habits. Oh, we can't be telling people they shouldn't be doing this, that, or the other. But it's fine to have them suddenly without power for potentially several hours in a completely unplanned manner. You know, the worst case scenario we've been told is 3-hour blackouts. Now, that's irritating for a lot of people. For someone whose business is going to be buggered by that, that's a problem. For people with conditions that mean they need some machines running all the time, they can't just have a 3-hour blackout unplanned. That's suffering. You know, I mean, if someone take those mushrooms off her, they're the wrong kind. And also we're hearing that Jacob Rees-Mogg is not at all happy about this. I mean, this is where she is. She's now more extreme than Jacob Rees-Mogg. In fact, the argument she's having with her cabinet here, and maybe the topic for another video. But the behaviour is also, it seems to be classic Boris Johnson. So rather than plan for the likely consequences of your poor decisions, they'd rather be optimistic about those consequences never materialising. We saw it from Johnson, in particular when dealing with both COVID and the economy. He would focus on the best case scenario. He'd be presented with various scenarios and he would focus on the best case. Not the most likely outcome. No preparations for the worst case scenario to make sure it didn't happen or to mitigate it if it did. You know, we'll deal with it if it happens was the attitude. Ignoring the fact that dire consequences are less likely if you plan for them and mitigate against them. Truss seems to be adopting the same attitude. Make no mistake, the worst case scenario of regular 3-hour blackouts would be incredibly damaging for her and her government. Deeply damaging politically. It can only be, you know, that she's just failing to be able to calculate risk. The way I see her risk management process, it works like this. There are 3 possibilities here. First, the blackouts happen and she gets blamed for them. That's bad. Second, that she initiates a public information campaign to get people to change their habits a little, warning them that blackouts are possible this winter. This is also bad. It's not as bad as the first one, but it's still bad because it means telling people that we might have trouble ahead, that the government's failed them. Also, even with the public information campaign, there may still be blackouts. Or third, she can say, well, no, we're fine. I'm not going to tell people what to do. We're fine. We're doing things for you. Hope that we don't have blackouts. And as an added bonus, hope that some EU countries do have blackouts. That's her ideal outcome because it means she gets to engage in maximum smug mode. So it may be she's opting for the third outcome here, as if it's a choice. But by doing nothing, she makes the blackouts more likely. And if they do occur, more severe. We don't have gas reserves. If we get blackouts, even the mainstream media may have to explain to the public why this is. People will also ask why Truss insisted that there would be no blackouts if she knackers Saturday night telly. They'll be hell to pay. You know, when Gordon Brown talks of the possibility of a national uprising, he meant as a result of people not being able to pay the bills with real-term cuts to incomes. But snookering Strictly Come Dancing might just send even the middle classes over the edge. It's another example of a government being run on pure ideology, not a calm, measured appraisal of the facts and relative probabilities of various outcomes. It's her fully going ahead with this small state idea, laissez-faire, the state shouldn't interfere in people's lives. Not realising that it is interfering in people's lives. If it does nothing, that is interfering, because it's the worst case scenario, the 3-hour blackouts. But even just regular, much shorter blackouts are still a problem. It's classic burying your head in the sand. Are we certain to have blackouts? Asked the Prime Minister, presumably. No, said officials, just bloody likely if we don't do anything. But it's not certain. No. Right then, we'll do nothing. I even saw a Tory MP claiming that the £15 million to be spent on the public information campaign would be a waste of money. I'm sure I read recently that the government are spending nearly £1 billion in order to promote their policies to the public, in order to get the public to appreciate the policies, advertise their insane policies. So what the hell is £15 million alongside that in order to actually prevent serious political backlash? Madness. Someone I follow on Twitter suggested that Starmer do it himself, in a way, offer up advice to people on how to avoid problems to make him look like he's taking it seriously. Nice idea. Don't think it'll work. If it's going to cost the government £15 million to do it properly, I can't imagine Labour could do it any more cheaply. And Labour don't have the kind of money to spend on one political stunt. And they don't have the social media presence to actually get a message out to a lot of people. If they just recorded a video and put it out on social media, hardly any bugger watches it, because they have no social media strategy. Besides, from Labour's point of view, strategically, it may be better to warn people about the consequences in PMQs or whatever, but see the consequences come to fruition. After all, if there are no blackouts, or they're not particularly disruptive, the Tories will say that Labour made a fuss about nothing. Like Y2K, isn't it? Because planes didn't fall out of the sky, people thought it was a fuss about nothing. No, the crisis was averted because people sorted it out before crunch time. Sometimes the crisis has to happen before some people will pay attention. Well, Truss is certainly doing her best to deliver that crisis, but her approach is the polar opposite of good risk management. And this is her approach to everything, isn't it? Only there's another dimension to this, because I say she's clearly just hoping that the blackouts don't occur so that she can claim it was all under control and that the opposition made a fuss about nothing, and this is why she's right to ignore the so-called experts. But she's putting a bet on a long shot because the payout is so huge. Because the payout is huge. If there are no blackouts, payout is massive here for her. She absolutely gets to look like she's under control because everyone is saying this is lunacy, we should prepare. She's saying, I've already done the preparation, it's fine. You know, so the political benefit of no blackouts by doing nothing is actually quite large. It's betting on the three-legged horse to win the race. But she may also be hedging her bets. She may imagine in her head that even if there are blackouts, she can use that to her political advantage. She can use it to push her fracking campaign. Now, I don't think she's right. I think she's got no better idea of how the public will react than Johnson did. But it's entirely possible that she has, in her head, this potential fallback plan. If there are no blackouts, win credibility. If there are blackouts, blame the lack of fracking. Say that if we'd have had fracking, if we had never stopped it, it would have been fine. Even though that would do bog all other than give us earthquakes while we're fumbling for the candles. And the worst part is that the way it's being reported, people are seeing that Truss is basically begging European leaders to help us keep the lights on, along with Strictly Come Dancing. The optics on this are extremely poor, and I do not know what she thinks is going to happen to make the public think better of her here. But whatever she's thinking, I'm fairly sure she's getting it badly wrong, as she's gotten her public relations badly wrong right from the start. I mean, she's literally positioned herself to be further removed from reality than Jacob Rees-Mogg. Jacob Rees-Mogg thinks this decision not to go ahead with the campaign is madness. That's where she is. She is making a very serious political error here. I really don't know why I'm complaining. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.